Welcome to Back Bike Beat. The 2025 Royal Enfield Continental GT 535 walks that line with laser-like precision, like a vinyl record remastered for the modern age. It's the blend of old-school soul and raw simplicity that turns heads on every corner. The bike doesn't need gimmicks or layers of electronics to win hearts, because its essence is about evoking an emotion every time you fire it up. It is for riders who crave the smell of petrol, the vibration of a single-cylinder engine, and the unmistakable silhouette of a café racer reborn for today. At the heart of this machine beats a 535 cubic centimeters single-cylinder, air-cooled engine. It is unapologetically simple, producing around 29 horsepower and about 44 Newton-meters of torque. That may not sound like blistering numbers when compared to the latest crop of high-performance machines, but the GT 535 has never been about chasing numbers. Instead, it's about the feel. Power delivery is smooth yet thumpy, the kind that encourages you to roll on the throttle and ride the torque wave rather than chase the redline. The 5-speed gearbox is deliberate and mechanical, with a reassuring clunk that reminds you every gear change is part of the experience. Performance shines brightest when you take the GT 535 onto twisty backroads. The bike tips the scales at just under 185 kilograms, which makes it lighter than most of Royal Enfield's other offerings. That lightness, combined with its Harris Performance-designed cradle frame, creates a nimble, responsive machine that loves being leaned into corners. It's agile without ever feeling nervous. Push it through a series of bends and you'll feel the chassis talking back to you, rewarding smooth inputs and punishing clumsy ones. Unlike many modern bikes that insulate the rider with layers of technology, the Continental GT 535 engages you fully, for better or worse. Suspension setup is firm, tuned more for precision than comfort. Over smooth asphalt it feels taut and planted, giving you confidence to push harder. But hit a rough patch of road and you'll be reminded of the trade-off, a ride that communicates every imperfection in the surface. It's not for riders seeking plush luxury. Instead, it's for those who want that raw, connected feel of machine to rider, rider to road. Braking duties are handled by a disc setup with a Brembo front caliper, providing strong and predictable stopping power. The design is where the GT 535 really makes its mark. It embodies the café racer spirit like few bikes today. Clip-on handlebars force you into that classic tucked-in stance. The tank is sculpted, narrow in the center with enough width at the top to grip with your knees. The seat is a single piece with a pronounced hump at the back, a nod to the golden era of 1960s racers. Even the exhaust angle feels purposeful, upswept, proud, and aggressive. From the first glance, it tells a story, and it's a story every motorcycle enthusiast knows instinctively: rebellion, freedom, and speed stripped to its essence. Instrumentation is another perfect blend of retro and modern. Twin analog dials dominate the view, one for speed and the other for revs, while a discrete digital display tucked within provides essentials like fuel level and odometer. This balance means you don't lose the classic aesthetic while still having the conveniences today's rider expects. Switchgear is simple, unfussy, and tactile. Every control feels deliberate, just like the rest of the bike. Riding the GT 535 isn't just about the mechanicals, it's about the aura. The sound of that big single cylinder is unmistakable, a deep, thumpy exhaust note that turns heads whether you're cruising slowly through the city or hammering down a stretch of highway. It's not loud in a harsh way, it's authoritative, commanding attention while keeping character intact. Owners describe it as an addictive soundtrack, one that lingers in your ears long after you've parked up. Another unique aspect is its rarity. By 2025, the Continental GT 535 is no longer a mass-market machine. Production numbers were never huge, and that exclusivity makes it a bit of a collector's piece. Spotting one on the road is special. Owning one gives you entry into a small, dedicated circle of riders who appreciate the GT for what it is, a pure, honest café racer that refuses to compromise. This rarity also gives it a cool factor you simply don't get with more common models. Price is another important part of the equation. While the GT 650 twins currently retail around $6,300 in the United States, the GT 535 would naturally fall just under that figure if it were positioned in 2025. Expect something in the neighborhood of $6,000 depending on region, which makes it a strong value proposition for what is essentially a modern classic. In markets like India, the price could be significantly lower, continuing Royal Enfield's tradition of accessible motorcycles that don't break the bank. For what you're getting, a bike with heritage, charm, and unique identity, it's money well spent. When you stack up its unique selling points, the picture becomes clear. First, the GT535 offers authentic café racer DNA, not just a styling exercise but a genuine expression of that 1960s British rocker culture. Second, its lightweight chassis makes it one of the most agile machines in Royal Enfield's lineup. Third, its mechanical simplicity ensures it's approachable for DIY maintenance and modification. Fourth, the styling is timeless. Every curve and line feels purposeful, with no unnecessary plastic or filler. Imagine taking it out early on a Sunday morning. The streets are quiet, the air is crisp, and as you pull in the clutch and thumb the starter, the engine barks to life with that trademark thump. You settle into the seat, lean forward over the bars, and the world narrows into that perfect strip of road ahead. Every gear shift, every corner, every moment becomes a reminder of why we ride, not for lap times or gadgets, but for connection, feeling, and pure joy. Picture stopping at a roadside cafe, helmet under your arm, the GT535 parked proudly outside. People approach, curious and intrigued, because this isn't a machine they see every day. Questions start flowing. What year is it? What engine does it run? How does it feel to ride? That's the effect of this bike. It sparks conversations, builds connections, and turns even ordinary stops into experiences. On longer rides, the GT535 demands a bit from its rider. The clip-on bars and sporty stance can become taxing over extended highway runs, but that's part of the trade-off. This is a bike designed for spirited rides, for short blasts across town or sweeping runs through countryside roads. It's not meant to be a touring workhorse. Customization potential is another layer of its charm. The GT535, like most Royal Enfields, invites tinkering. Owners fit aftermarket exhausts, swap seats, add bar end mirrors, or change paint schemes, and the bike absorbs these changes without losing its core identity. Every Continental GT535 can be a reflection of its rider, a canvas on which individuality can shine. And because it's simple and mechanical, modifications are often straightforward, encouraging creativity rather than deterring it. There's also the heritage factor. The Continental GT name carries weight, tracing back to the 1960s when café racer culture was at its peak. Back then, it was about young riders stripping down their bikes, racing between cafés, and chasing speed on machines they built with their own hands. The 535 channels that exact ethos. It doesn't just look like a café racer, it feels like one. Every design element, every mechanical choice, every compromise is rooted in that spirit. So if you're considering adding one to your garage in 2025, know this: you're not just buying a machine. You're buying into an experience, a legacy, and a lifestyle. You're signing up for mornings filled with the sound of a thumping single, for long rides where the bike feels like an extension of you, and for countless conversations at petrol stations where strangers walk up to ask, "What bike is that?" That's the charm of the Royal Enfield Continental GT535. It's not the fastest, not the most advanced, and certainly not the most comfortable. But it's one of the most authentic motorcycles you can own, and in today's motorcycling landscape, that authenticity is priceless.